And hello fellow Taker Space Bandit here with another episode of World of Tanks. And today what we're gonna do is first of all we're gonna go over Centurion AX and my build for Centurion AX. Now I've been having ridiculous games in this tank with this setup. So the game we're gonna show you today is absolutely ridiculous. We're gonna get over 8,000 damage in this game today, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let's take a look at my build and see how I have it set up. So first let's skip to a commander and let's see what commander skills I'm running. So I'm running Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Run and Gun, Sixth Sense, Camouflage Expertise, Steady Aim, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanic, and Snapshot. So just looking at these skills, obviously Born Leader is a must. Rapid Loading will help you with your gun reload speed. Run and Gun, you don't realize, but Run and Gun is a great skill when it comes to movement, your tank movement. So if you're moving from behind the ridgeline, for instance, you want to poke over the ridgeline, take a shot, this increases your accuracy during movement. So keep that in mind. I think that's a very important skill that a lot of players don't use. But if you can use it pretty much on any tank, especially tanks that you snap shoot in, where you poke out, take a shot, and hide back into cover, that's when it's going to help you. Sixth Sense is self-explanatory. Camouflage Expertise just adds this extra camo to your tank, so that's fantastic to have. Also, if you can, on any of the medium tanks, especially with Centurion AX being so big, you know, the tank is pretty large, so this will help with that. Steady Aim, again, I'm working the gun accuracy more. In your case, you might not need it potentially. For instance, one skill that I would love to run in here that I don't have is Silent Driving, which is amazing for all the medium tanks and all the heavy tanks, or TDs. But because I do so much snap shooting, especially at tier 10, with this tank not having the best turret armor, it's not the strongest, you really want to just minimize that exposure time. That's why I'm optimizing it for gun accuracy right here. Situational Awareness, quite self-explanatory. You want to increase that view range as much as possible. Track Mechanic, I'm running Track Mechanic because if my repair is on a recharge and I get stuck, I could easily get shafted and die in a position if I don't have the skill. So at least this will help repair the tracks a little bit faster, that I could get back into cover. And obviously a Snapshot, again, just to help with my gun accuracy and especially accuracy on the move and poking out from behind the ridgelines. So I think that pretty much explains this all. Now let's take a look at my setup, equipment setup. So what do we have here? So we're running advanced optics, again, to increase the view range, increasing loading time to maximize that rate of fire in this tank, and gun stabilizer. I like to use gun stabilizer, even though, to be honest, on Centurion AX you probably will not need to run it, and you can run some other piece of equipment here. What else we could run here that would be really good? You don't need any mobility skills. Maybe reinforced ammo rack, because ammo rack dies on this tank quite a lot. Let's see what else. Vents. Vents would be a good one. Actually, probably instead of this, if you would prefer, I would run vents, because that will increase performance of your commander, obviously, in all aspects. Another thing to consider is also advanced concealment. If you like playing your tank stealthy from the back, sniping, and this tank obviously doesn't have the best armor, you can also run advanced concealment. So yeah, that's something to test out. Whatever works for you, whatever works better for you. This setup works for me great, just because I have a laser accurate gun with this setup, and that's what I'm aiming for in my AX. But maybe at some point I'll test advanced concealment and maybe also improve vents to see how that helps the tank. But like I said, so far I'm running it with this setup and it's been working fantastic for me. Okay, I think that's enough about the build. Now let's jump into the battle and see what we have accomplished there. Okay, so let's jump into the game now in our Centurion AX, Tier 10 British medium tank. We're on map Cliff, and for whatever reason I seem to be having good games on this map. And normally not from this spawn. This spawn is usually worse. The south spawn is usually better on this map. I prefer playing the south spawn. North spawn is a little bit difficult, but hey, I make it work every once in a while. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make an aggressive play in the Centurion AX. And you know, it's a high risk, high reward kind of a play. If you make this play and you run into a lot of opposition, then you will obviously suffer early and probably be knocked out of the game quite early, but it's quite rewarding. If you can actually make this play and don't encounter a lot of opposition, you can get a lot of spots early, especially on those TDs that are sitting on the one line, like this waffle right there. We're gonna put a shell into him and just scoot to the left and get out. So if someone doesn't really contest this area and lets us operate here freely, it is a huge problem for the enemy. It is a problem because it can lose you the game very quickly. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna push a little bit further, be a little bit too aggressive, to be honest. I spotted quite a few tanks and they seem to have shots at me as well. So I took one hit, but luckily we were able to get away from danger and get ourselves in this position here where it's sort of already safe. But all of a sudden I noticed here that this E3 is going to push us, so we're gonna have to start paying attention to him. So we put a shell into him. Now he's gonna turn towards us, but because he turned towards us, we have so many guns in the back looking in this direction, so he was taken out without us really taking any additional damage. So now we're gonna climb this hill right here again, and we're gonna try to spot these guys across the map to see who's kind of coming into this direction. Looks like the enemy team completely abandoned the middle of the map. That's another problem in this game, that they didn't really have anyone contesting area F5, F6, which is very important. And we're able to put these shells freely into those heavy tanks heading into the 8 and 9 line area. So we're gonna play it patient. We're gonna try to lose our sixth sense over here, and we're gonna have a feast. Pretty much going to be farming grounds right here, just because the opposition let us do this. And for whatever reason, they didn't even bring any of the medium tanks into the center of the map or into this location where I am. Usually medium tanks are good for this play because they're flexible. They can move fast, they can get into these positions quickly. Either medium tanks or light tanks. Fortunately, the opposition doesn't have any light tanks on their team, so we're just gonna continue farming here. But we got spotted at this moment, and then we realized, okay, well, there's some medium tank on the right hand side, but we didn't want him to interrupt our farming session, right? So I kept on firing regardless, but now we're gonna have to start paying attention to him. I'm gonna try to kind of stay out of crossfire because these guys behind me, or the guys on my right hand side, they have shots into me. So does this M46. So unfortunately we lost quite a bit of HP right here with this engagement, but we're still alive and kicking. Unfortunately just one shot at the moment, so we're gonna have to be really cautious right here and don't overexpose our tank too much. We see this IS-7, we still have shots into him, so we take him out of the game. Now we can focus on these heavy tanks down at G7. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. We switch to heat rounds because we're firing at the E100. So we want to make sure we pen those shots. And now he's gonna turn around towards us and we get spotted, so we just fire that shell and we're gonna drop because, you know, we're one shot. So last thing we want is get shafted by Artie or get shot by any of those heavy tanks that I was shooting right there. And luckily Artie wasn't paying attention to me in this game, because if it did, I would probably be dead a lot earlier. Now it looks like the 60 TP has turned around and he's facing me, so I can't really get a good shot into him. I'm looking for a shot, but I can't find it. All of a sudden, T95E6 shows up out of nowhere, and I thought I was dead right here, but I managed to just get away in the last second right behind this ridgeline. And at the same time, my friendlies decided to push, and they will engage this guy. I was just hoping that he doesn't have a hard-on for me, and he just doesn't want me right over here. So I'm gonna try to run away and get away from his gun. But as you noticed there, our friendly came in and took care of business. I really appreciate that. Yeah, but really appreciate that. Really appreciate that help. And that's the teamwork that in many cases you don't have in your games. But I love these guys that are actually thinking clearly, and he didn't want to let me die right there, so I really appreciate that. Anyway, we put a shell into the 60 TP. We take him out of the game. And now I looked at my damage counter and I'm like, wow, I'm sitting on almost 6k damage, close to 6k damage. So I'm like, you know what, I'm a one shot, I'm not gonna push any further, I'm gonna play it safe. So I decided to relocate into the middle of the map and maybe engage these guys that are currently at H8. So that was my thinking process. And I was also hoping that there isn't much resistance here in the middle of the map. But from earlier situation, I figured that, yeah, there wouldn't be anything here anyway. So it would pretty much give me freedom to operate in this area. Use those bushes here, which are fantastic as well. I'm going to try to put a shell into this E100. Side turret shot, he was a bit angled, but the heat shell probably should have penetrated this, so I'm not sure what happened there. But regardless, we're going to keep moving up right here because they don't have shots into me right now. Just making sure that they don't have shots at me. That's all I'm doing here. And I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to use those buildings to try to stay undetected. And we're going to try to change direction towards the middle here. Because at the same time, maybe we can get some spots into the middle of the map. And there we go. We spot this Death Star. So we're going to put a shell into him. Unfortunately, that goes into the track. Shooting heat. So that's expected. We see the Artie here. We're going to prioritize him. We're going to take him out of the game. And now we should be able to put another shell into this Death Star. I know he's there. He was tracked. So we put a shell into him. Now we're going to see if we can respot him. Can we respot him? Yes, we can. We should be able to put one more shell into him. And we do. And now we're going to switch our attention to the other two guys that are sitting pretty much in no man's land. And the good thing for me here is that they're paying attention to my medium and a heavy tank that are engaging them frontally. And I can pretty much come behind here and feast. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to come behind here, use our gun depression, and feast. We're going to shoot top of the turret of this E100. And we do. And now we're going to switch attention to E75 so that we can get that juicy damage. And we're just going to prep up that damage number. Look at all these hit points over here. This should be juicy feast. Juicy feast. We can easily get this game over 8k, and we're already over 8k. Now, let's see if we can get rid of this E100. Yes, we get that as well. And we finish game with a fantastic result. Absolutely fantastic. What can I say, guys? Centurion AX, just a wonderful tank. Works for me every time. It is definitely my favorite tank in the game. Most favorite tank in the game. I cannot put a finger on why, but it's just fantabulous. So we ended up with 8.3k damage, 3 kills. We also ended up with some assisted, almost 3k assisted, which brings the total to like, what, 11k combined damage? Absolutely crazy. We finished with Mastery Ace Tanker, a whole bunch of ribbons, some medals. We got Confederate medal, high caliber for causing the most damage. And yeah, marks of excellence, which I'm not going for, to be honest. I just don't play often enough. We finished on top of the team with 1827 base XP. Just beautiful game. We fired 29 shells, we had 23 penetrations and 9 critical hits. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this game and my breakdown on Centurion AX, my commander setup, my equipment build, and I hope it will benefit you in the future. Anyway, thanks for watching. That's it for now. Until next time. Happy tanking, Space Bandit. Check it out.